Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are interviewing Axleablaze Productions, more formally.
Oh, Axel.
Wait, I already messed this up before we started. That's great.
Axleablaze.
Axel. Did I type it wrong in here?
I was just like, wait a minute. I'm not a cell. Axel.
We have Axleablaze here, formerly known as Axleablaze Productions. He's anime, mostly manga YouTuber focused. I've known him for about, I'd say almost 4 years now, as far as that goes. Currently, he's doing this really massive challenge where he's trying to read manga every single day for a full year, which is pretty inspirational with his dedication to do this. And I hope you check out that. It's on his short section. And he's also done often videos like in-depth commentary on current manga series, adaptations like anime, and some other things of interest. Like to me, is the industry developments within what's going on with anime manga. So that's one thing that I personally like. And he also does commentary and criticism, all that fun stuff. But he has his own podcast, and yeah, I'll let him introduce himself.
So, hi, my name is Axel. I've been doing YouTube content sporadically over the past 10 years, but most people know me from some time within the last 5. Like was already said, my content revolves around anime, manga, in parts of the industry, stuff that's always intrigued me, and I just love reading and watching stuff. So I appreciate you for having me on I'm looking forward to answering a lot of these questions.
So what started your passion for anime?
So when I was a kid, I loved reading and I loved cartoons. I participated in the summer reading challenges every year at my local library. And while I loved watching cartoons during the week, Saturday morning cartoons with Kids WB in the States were the best. I'd watch Fox Kids and Toonami throughout the week. And when I was younger, I didn't really know that I was watching anime. Watching cartoons. It wasn't necessarily that they were explicitly telling childhood Axel is like, oh, hey, this part is the anime and this part is the cartoon. So at least for me, it was all just blended at that time. And I didn't really know what specifically anime and manga were until later on in elementary school, when one of my classmates actually brought it to class, one of the US monthly Shonen Jump magazines. And at least kind of core memory for me was seeing Yu-Gi-Oh! The manga in the Shonen Jump magazine. And I was like, wait a minute, I saw that in Kids WB that has a manga too. And ever since from that point on, I started recognizing more anime, recognizing more manga. I started watching and reading more. And at least at this point, I've been watching anime, reading manga in various combinations over the last 2.5 decades. Which is a long time to kind of put in perspective, but yeah, ever since I was a kid, I've loved it.
For myself, I still actually do the reading thing for my local library because they created an incentive for adults because they want to make sure reading comprehension is still high for where I'm at. So I still do that. I like to submit different manga that I'm reading occasionally, but I personally more watch anime. It kind of slowed down a little bit, but planning to pick up a little bit.
I envy you for that, for still being involved with your library. I have not been involved with my own public library in a long time, but I also have my own library, so I don't necessarily need to leave my own house.
Well, the rules are that you don't have to read something from the library. You just have to read a thing. And submit it basically. So I think a couple of years ago I put in Vinland Saga, Vagabond, something. I forget what else. It might have been My Hero at the time. I'm trying to think. But for our library they give different rewards and stuff for that, small stuff. So it's just nice. I still remember
when I was a kid, they essentially had a prize room where you got to pick one prize, and I still remember getting a skateboard for reading when I was a kid. So it's just core memory, right there, just from remembering all this.
And I wanted to ask, how did your passion over time with anime and manga evolve to you wanting to do content?
So it was actually just my desire in general for content creation. that got me started. I mentioned that I've been doing YouTube on and off for 10 years, and one of my first consistent forays into content creation was actually a podcast that I started with my friend Darian, and we called the show The Dork List. And The Dork List was a show where we discussed anime, shows, movies, video games, pretty much anything that we were interested in like that week or that month, just in general. And that said, eventually I did try and do things myself with more of an anime and manga focus. And that's just because I felt like I had an opinion worth sharing. I had a lot of experience. Like I said, I've been reading and watching stuff for 2.5 decades. So I have years and years of experience of reading and watching things, comparing and contrasting. So at the very least, I felt like I had a good viewpoint to express things. And as someone who, you know, I like looking at things from behind the scenes with production and metrics and all kinds of stuff like that, I was just like, well, let me, you know, discuss these things. And I mean, that being said, it didn't really take off until 2020 when I really started to be more serious about content creation. But I've been trying this for over 10 years, and the Dork List videos, funny enough, I shouldn't even necessarily say that they're videos. They're on YouTube as videos, but they're podcasts. They were all audio based. All of those are actually still on the channel. I haven't privated them or anything, but it's interesting to see where I started versus where I am today.
And would you mind walking through, audience, what made you choose the username that you end up going with?
Sure. So I don't necessarily talk about this a lot, but Axleablaze itself comes from Kingdom Hearts. And that's because Axel is one of my favorite characters from the franchise, and I wanted to include the fire aspect of his character in the name. So that's how the name Axleablaze itself came to be. In my office itself, I've got two instances of Axel. I've got a Funko Pop that is on my bookshelf back there, and I actually have a wooden replica of his Keyblade, the fire one with the chakram at the end. So I'm a big Axel. I'm a big Axel Kingdom Hearts fan. Not to be confused with the Inazuma 11 character Axleablaze, which is funny. If you put a space between Axel and Blaze,
I think that's how I got confused with your username for a second, because I thought that's what it was.
Don't get me wrong, I love Inazuma 11. I only watched the subbed version. I never watched the dub, so I wasn't even familiar with the fact that his name in English was Axleablaze. So when people started saying oh, the Inazuma 11 character, I was just like, what? And no, apparently that was his name. And it's no, it's a Kingdom Hearts thing. But again, I don't necessarily have a lot of opportunities to tell people that. So yeah, that's where Axleablaze at least specifically came from. And then with the production side of things, that came later because I used Axleablaze as a cosplay handle first. So I'm also known as Axleablaze Cosplay. Now, that being said, my cosplaying has definitely it's decreased a lot. I haven't gone to as many conventions or whatnot lately as much as I would like to. It's something that I still do. I still have cosplay plans, but it's because there's the productions for the video side of things and the cosplay that my Twitter handle is Axleablaze PAC. So the productions and cosplay side of things. So that's where all that comes from. But yes, while I'm a fan of Inazuma 11, no, it is not because of that character. It is all because of Kingdom Hearts.
And how did you start your recent podcast with Axel and Friends? Do you have any standout moments? And also, how is it with it being more of a reboot than trying to start a new one and such? Continue.
Sure. So again, kind of going back to the me being sporadically on YouTube and whatnot, 2020 was where my channel started coming into its own. And I started it out with a podcast format just because that was something that I was comfortable with. I actually have a broadcast degree from the college that I went to, so I did the student radio side of things. And podcasting is just something that kind of comes naturally to me. I can speak for long periods of time. I just don't want to edit videos for a long period of time. So that's where at least the original podcast came from. And so I did several videos, at least several podcast episodes that were just me first. And at least the two that I started out with talking about Super Sentai and for those unfamiliar, Japanese Power Rangers, essentially, which interestingly enough, I had my former co-host of the Dork List on that video. And the other one was me talking about the state of Shonen Jump at the time. And that was because I had been watching Super Eye Patch Wolf for a couple years, and I felt like, okay, I want to give my perspective on things that were going on. So I then, after the podcast in 2020, I made a shift to shorter content to start in 2021. So that was when I had like the top 20 best new manga from 2020. I talked about like the Deadpool manga. I talked about new Shonen Jump manga, new Weekly Shonen Magazine manga. And as I was gradually building up connections with people through Twitter, through YouTube and whatnot, that was when I decided to bring back the podcast again, different people on, so I can talk about different, related interests that we might share and that. And I enjoyed having various people on the show. I had you on the show when we talked about dubs and whatnot.
I'll probably link that in the description for anyone who cares. I'm sure we'll probably talk again about some. There's so much about that topic.
There's a lot that we'll be talking about with that. But in terms of like some of my favorite moments, some highlights and whatnot, despite the view count and copyright issues this specific video had, one of my favorite episodes was getting to talk about the old Cartoon Network Halloween specials, just because it made me really nostalgic. But like, I'm an anime and manga channel, so people aren't, as much as I was like, oh, people are coming back for me, which was true to an extent, and that's why I still got certain views, like, people came to me for anime and manga stuff. So that was something that, like, that wasn't really viewed as much. And because silly Axel decided, oh, I'm just going to actually take those specials, blur them, and put them in the background as a visual thing, that one was one that got hit by copyright, not a strike, but like a copyright claim. And again, I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
The most viewed podcast that I had in terms of the Axel and Friends one was the one where I had Aniki Smash FSP join me, and we discussed the changes to anime from the manga for various series. And I specifically brought him on because he is a My Hero Academia content creator, and I wanted to specifically at least discuss the changes to season 4 of My Hero Academia, because that was the one with My Villain Academia, and they changed things chronologically to have My Villain Academia end the season, because at least comparatively in the manga, that was where the season would have ended with Deku, Bakugo, and Shoto joining Endeavor's agency. That was where chronologically things were supposed to end, but they switched things up for the anime production, and I agree with it. Like, having My Villain Academia end the season was a lot better. But we also talked about, to an extent, The Promised Neverland, because obviously season 2, it never existed. Season 2 of The Promised Neverland never existed. It only had one season. Nothing bad happened in a season 2 where they butchered the manga. No. But so that was at least Axel and Friends. And now for rebooting, for doing a new podcast, I'm still experimenting with it. Admittedly, I've only put out one episode because I've been dealing with a 365-day challenge. I've also had various other things going on in real life. Nothing bad. I've actually had a friend staying over for the past few weeks. So that's part of what's taken up my time there. But I'm experimenting with bringing back the podcast and focusing on myself first. The current working title is Last Week with Axel. Like I said, working title, whether I stick with that, whether I change it, I'm kind of still working on it. But at least the theme has been discussing things that were relevant, like in the previous week. And that was something that worked out last time because I talked about the new Shonen Jump manga that were coming out, as well as, at least at the time, the speculation of what was getting axed. And the funny thing is, like, I finished, as I was like processing the video, is when the leaks came through of Astro Royale getting axed, and I was just like, of course this happens, like, after I'm done talking about it. I talked about the AI manga controversy stuff, especially with Manga Plus, and then I talked about the Crunchyroll award nominations, which I'm still kicking myself, and I talked about it in the podcast, but I had actually scripted and written and recorded my thoughts and predictions on the Crunchyroll Awards months ago, but I was too bothered to edit it. I was just like, I don't want to do this. And the podcast at least is allowing me an opportunity to speak my mind on various topics that I want to talk about, but not edit it, because I hate editing. It's anything longer than a minute that I'm just like, and I hate it. But like, that's something to get into in the future at least. But I'm enjoying getting to do it. I'm enjoying getting to like outline things and whatnot. We'll see how it ends up. Like I said, at least for the first episode, and it's an experiment. Like, I want to see if this is something that people enjoy, if it's something that grows, because the last thing I want is to be complacent with the stuff that I'm creating, because I want to grow. I want to be able to amass more views and whatnot, and I don't want to put in hours and hours of work if it's not producing any kind of tangible results. That was actually why I dropped my weekly Shonen Jump review, because I was staying up till like 2 or 3 in the morning on like Sunday nights just so I could get it out on Mondays, only for that video to be relevant for like a week, since everybody's on to the next thing and the next time. So I'm enjoying the process. It's an experiment. Depending on how things go, I'll bring on guests if it's something that continues to grow, but we'll see. I don't want to make any promises, because again, I'm just trying to change and see where things go.
Yeah, I feel like with the weekly Shonen Jump series that you did, I feel like whenever the yearly manga project ends, I feel like that would work better in short form content, because people can see your thoughts quickly on something. If anyone asks you like, oh, here's a short, here's my thoughts, what's going on? And it's a lot quicker, because I get people, even like myself, who enjoyed watching it, but the thing is, like you said, it loses relevancy, and I think that's where shorts, I think, are gonna help, at least the market, in my opinion.
Right. It's hard. Like, as much as I want to discuss Weekly Shonen Jump in the moment, it's not evergreen content, and that's what you need more of on YouTube if you want stuff to kind of grow. And that's where, at least like with me doing my 365-day challenge, like, it's evergreen, because it's like, oh, I finished a manga, I'm talking about it. Like, okay, cool. Like, anyone can click on that video and be like, oh, this is what his thoughts were on that. It's like a timeless thing. And even with me discussing like the state of Shonen Jump, or talking about like TOC metrics or things like that, that at least has a longer period of relevancy. So that at least is something that I want to focus on more of. It's not to say that I won't talk about Shonen Jump again in like the future, but just because that window is so short, and honestly speaking, the vast majority of people already have their specific YouTubers that they like tune into for that stuff on a weekly basis. And you can only listen to so many people talking about the same thing before you're like, okay, I'm good. And that's, at least at this point in time, it's just not a space that I really want to break back into.
Yeah, I can understand that with the higher competition volume, especially. Like, that is something that is definitely difficult to deal with, when, at least, I mean, it just depends. Like, you have to have a certain spend to get someone to watch you for whatever. And like, that's kind of hard when a lot of people already are doing that in some extent, is the best way to put it. But I did want to ask, like, what is your typical process like when you do like a discussion video or like a podcast?
Sure. So I will upfront say it's pretty much the typical approach I think a lot of people would do. So obviously the first thing is, just figuring out what I want to talk about. I, at the very least, try to talk about things that are either relevant to the moment, or like we had just discussed, something that can be more evergreen. So at least in the anime and manga space, evergreen stuff would be talking about, like, let's say, older manga or anime stuff that's like popular or could be popular, or like something that's underappreciated that you can get more eyes on it. That being said, like I can still talk about like seasonal anime or whatnot in the moment, but like those are things where they do have a more specific window of time that if I'm going to talk about it, I need to talk about it soon so that it sticks. From there, I do a little bit of research for any like relevant facts or interesting tidbits that people might be unaware of without like digging a little bit deeper. Because obviously, there's a lot of stuff that we don't know about like certain mangaka, like anime production, like stuff like that, you know, we might have heard or seen a name or something before, or there might have been an element that is like, oh, that was neat, but like there's more to it. And so I do try to find some of those instances with that. At least as an example, for one of the manga shorts that I did a week or two ago, I was talking about a shoujo series. And the interesting thing, at least about this, was the writer for it, because the writer is responsible for the longest ongoing multi-volume sci-fi series, or like light novel series that is like sci-fi and fantasy. Like, she was responsible for that longest series. And it's like, oh, that is a really interesting piece of information that I wouldn't have known had I not dug a little deeper. And I feel like, okay, like this is an interesting fact that more people would want to know. Like, did you know that this shoujo writer did this? No, I didn't either. Really cool. From there, I do the scripting or the outline process. And the vast majority of my videos that I do are scripted. It's really only the podcast ones that I'm more of an outline for. Even with like today's interview, I got the questions ahead of time. My answers and whatnot are here. I'm going off of them for the most part, but I'm ad-libbing where I can. But yeah, every single short that you see, every short form video that I've done and whatnot, that is all me scripting. There's no chat GPT or anything. Those are all my words based off of things that I'm seeing online. I copy some synopses here and there to an extent, but I still try to make it in my words. And I do a lot of this scripting and whatnot because I'm somebody that I have a verbal tick of doing a lot of ums and a lot of likes. So this is able to allow me to cut down on a lot of that. And even when I've ad-libbed here a little bit, I've had some ums and likes. So that's where this helps me out. And then another reason, at least for me doing the outline for the podcast format, is to allow me to be more emotional in the moment, especially if I have certain strong feelings or whatnot towards a topic. And you can really see that, especially in the first episode of last week with Axel, where I really go off on the AI manga stuff and some of the nominations for the Crunchyroll Awards. I was genuinely upset that Kaiju number 8 got nominated as many times as it did for the Crunchyroll Awards. I did not think it deserved the vast majority of those nominations, but I digress. That is something where, again, the outline helps me to have those ideas, but give you genuine Axel in the moment of like what I'm feeling. Not to say that the scripts aren't genuine Axel in the moment. Those are. That's just me trying to be more eloquent with what I want to say. But in general, there's nothing necessarily, I think, that I do that special or different compared to the vast majority of other people. It's a typical work process. I wish I had something more fun to say. On like, oh, like I pick things from a hat or throw darts at a wall or something. Is like, no, it's just, this is interesting in the moment, or, oh, this is a manga I want to read, and there you go.
Well, it shows that you like care about what you're talking about. I think that's fine in some extents. Like, I prefer that over someone trying to randomly pick something and be like, so this thing, it's like, I don't know. It's like thing. It's like, there's some times where people do that. It's like, it feels like they're reacting to like what they're trying to discuss for an actual video. It's just really,
and like,
unless they're funny, sometimes they can get away with it.
Right. That reminds me though, like, I try not to necessarily follow the same trends that a lot of other people do too. Like, I don't know if you saw this on YouTube at one point, but do you remember when like everybody and their grandma all of a sudden was making a video on PTSD radio?
I don't know if I was around for that.
It was like a year ago.
Well, at least be involved with the trend, if that makes sense. Like,
fair enough.
That's what I mean.
So that was just something that I remembered where it's just like, why are all of these people suddenly talking about PTSD radio? And you had so many people that had like the same thumbnail, and I honestly, I did not bother watching them because I figured a lot of people were talking about the same thing, but I was just like, everybody in the same span of a week to a month is talking about PTSD radio, and I just never wanted to be one of those people where I was influenced by the trend. So granted, some of the stuff that I'm talking about isn't necessarily unique to me, but it's never been one of those things where it's just like, oh, everybody else is doing it, so I gotta do it too. But that was just one of those ones that specifically stuck with me because I was just like, okay, I don't think you genuinely care about PTSD radio. I think you saw everybody else talking about it, and now you need to give your opinion on it.
Yeah, I kind of get that. As far as a lot of people wanting to cover the same thing. Like, I think if you want to cover something, I'll take offense on do that. Like, if Dragon Ball Daima, like, did crazy numbers, and like, oh, everyone wants to cover Daima right now, and they're, like, even outside the Dragon Ball community. Sure, why not? It's like Toriyama's last work. There's so much stuff behind that emotionally for people. I can totally see people wanting that. I think you run into issues where if people don't care and they want to like cover and whatnot, like it depends. Like there's only so many ways you go about it. Like it's like, oh, this is my first Dragon Ball series. What do I think about it? There's theoretically ways you can spin stuff you're less engaged property, but at the same time, like how many times am I as like a viewer gonna watch that X amount of people do the same thing from that perspective?
Mm-hmm.
I did want to ask with scaling back, like covering seasonal anime and manga, what kind of led you to do that over time when you like that decision making process?
I think the big thing was just that there's just so much that's out there. Like there are other YouTubers that do discuss that, like Mother's Basement, Giguk, like
yeah,
those are at least the main two that immediately come to mind of like, oh, these are people that at least, if not fully, they bring it up like either at the beginning of the season or the end of the season or mid-season of like discussing things. Usually with Giguk, to my knowledge, he just covers things at the very beginning of the season. I don't know if he actually reviews things towards the end. Mother's Basement, like he's at like all three stages at least, but
Giguk's interesting because he doesn't do like his other coverage on his main channel. He has like a second channel where he's like watching like 12 episodes of blank. What did I think? Like in theory, I don't think he watches everything when he does. Like here's every anime coming out, but he does at least watch a couple of episodes to get an implication how he feels about it, and if he decides to watch more of it seems like.
Yeah, and I know there's like other smaller YouTube creators that are at least in the same boat as well, but I'm someone that I watch what I watch. I enjoy what I enjoy, and there are ones at least where, I'll seek them out ahead of time, especially if it's like an adaptation of something that I've already read and I'm like, oh, like finally we get to see this animated. There are other ones where like I'll just like scroll through like Anime Live Chart and just see, or Mal, and see, okay, these are the things that are upcoming, these are the ones that people plan to watch, etc., etc. And like I'll, kind of handpick some of those. And then when the season actually starts, there are ones where it's just like, okay, I'll watch this, I'll try this. And some of them stick, some of them don't. But like that is how I end up watching like 20 plus anime on a season, like I am for the spring. I am watching a lot of anime. Granted, part of that is also because the lesser known challenge that I'm also doing for this year is that I'm trying to watch 100 anime this year as well. So like I am absolutely a masochist. It's like you're reading 365 manga and watching 100 anime. Yes, I'm insane. I'm well aware of that, but I just want to watch what I want to watch. Like I enjoy things. I enjoy watching all kinds of anime. I'm not one of those people where what I'm watching or reading has to be a 7 out of 10 or higher, which 7 is not average. For people that are like, oh, it's an average like 7 out of 10. Like, no, you haven't watched or actually read actual 5 out of 10 series. Like you are still watching the good stuff if you're watching the 7 out of 10s. Like you need to experience the actual average things or below average things. And like I will still enjoy anime or whatnot that are like a 3 or 4 out of 10. Like they're dumb, but like I enjoy it, or like they're absolutely problematic, but there's like some kind of element that still kept me in. And is that to say that I don't drop things? I do drop the occasional thing here and there. My drop list is very short though. I'm absolutely one of those like sunken cost fallacy kind of people, but no, I just watch what I watch. and it ends up just piling up, honestly.
Has engaging with the anime and manga community like shaped your views on the medium?
So, I guess if anything, it's kind of reinforced my own views, and I'm thankful that I have been able to surround myself with a lot of people that, you know, either share my views or we might have differing views, but we're not yelling at each other about it. Like, I appreciate that there are people that are passionate about the medium out there. We have a lot of people that are very vocal about the things that they love, but they're also sometimes vocal about the things that they hate. And sometimes that passion comes out from either misguided and or inexperienced places. And so like that's where I get annoyed by a lot of the posts where it's just like, you know, people constantly talking about the same 3 to 5 manga being discussed. If like the same blue check Twitter account is like posting the exact same anime clip that gets posted by everybody and their grandma every like month or two because engagement. I also really hate the like X is better than Y posts. I'm still kind of surprised I actually engaged with one the other day because somebody was like, it was a Boruto fan being like, oh yeah, like season 1 Kawaki is so much better than season 1 Sasuke. And I'm like, okay, I can tell that you're passionate about this, but I'm not going to get into a power scaling debate on the podcast here. But I laid out my points. And I'm just like, come on, like be for real about this. And that's really what it is. There's a lot of either on Twitter, especially, there's a lot of like posts that are either like the engagement farming or rage bait ones, and a lot of the actual like in-depth discussion posts, they don't gain a lot of traction because of the algorithm, and it's tough. It's tough to be an anime Twitter fan that actually wants to just discuss things in depth, but like you just get like those posts that go around on Twitter and it's just like, Sanji sucks, and it gets like 100,000 likes or reposts and whatnot. And it's just like, okay, can we have more discussion on this? No? Okay, whatever.
I get that, for sure. Are there any misconceptions you feel that people have about being a content creator in this space?
I don't think so. At least not anything that I can like speak personally for.
Oh, okay.
It's not easy. I'll say that. Like, a lot of people are aware the algorithm can be absolutely unforgiving. You might put your heart and soul into one video, but then a meme video gets more views. You can also be like me, like, or other like content creator friends where they go on like a break for whatever period of time because they've been working on something like really cool or really great, something that they're like really invested in, and then they come back, they finally post that video and the engagement isn't there. It's like YouTube recognizes, oh, you haven't been away, like you've been away. Oh, okay, well, the people that actually subscribe to you don't need to know that you're back. They don't need to know that, and like it can be disheartening. I mentioned obviously that I've been on YouTube sporadically over the course of 10 years, and yeah, it can be really disheartening, like going into a project or whatnot, and then the views don't, correlate to the actual effort or whatnot that was put in. And that's not necessarily on the subscribers for that. Like, some of them don't even know that you might have posted a video, especially if they don't, click on the bell for like notifications or whatnot. But I think people do recognize that it's hard. So I don't think there's a misconception about it. But I will say, it can be rewarding if you put the effort in, if you learn to adapt and grow. I'm somebody where I do very well when I get positive affirmation from people. It means a lot when somebody gives me a compliment for the work that I put into it. So like that does mean something. And I know, at least for a lot of other creators and whatnot, like, especially if they're like the bigger ones, not everyone is going to respond to, the comments that you make on the videos. But at least for me, because I have that ability to do so, I'm on the smaller scale right now, I'm able to respond to almost every comment that comes my way, or at least acknowledge it. Like, I'll react, put a heart. I try to comment on most people's comments that they make and whatnot, but at least for me, that is something that matters. So if I guess that would be a potential misconception if you think like comments don't matter or whatnot. It does for me. Like, I'm somebody that I do well if I get comments and engagement, so I do appreciate that. otherwise, there's not really anything else that like I said, I can speak for or whatnot. Because I think enough people are doing YouTube and whatnot at this point to kind of understand that things are hard, and like content creators have definitely spoken out about their challenges and whatnot. So I think most people understand, at least at this point in time.
Yeah, I think with what you were saying earlier, with 10 years doing this, that's really commendable, at least to me, because I've also been around for about 10 years, actually a bit longer, I'm pretty sure. And the thing is, the average is like 5 years, like for your average content creator. Like there was my best friend, like Anime Sage, he literally quit right at the 5-year mark. Like that's, like channel was doing relatively fine, took a break a couple times, and that's just how things go. Like sometimes you just don't have it in you to keep going. I understand.
Well, and especially if you're not, especially if you're like not a bigger channel. Like I mean, like being upfront and transparent. Like I enjoy making the shorts that I do. Like a lot of them, at least at this point in time, like I get like 700 to 1,000 views. Some of them don't do as well, and that's just because I don't necessarily post them all at the same time. I'm still trying to get one out per day, but like I make 10 cents, if even, on
that's
like a given short, and like that can be very demoralizing. Like especially if you're trying to make YouTube a career, and at least for me, it's a passion project. As much as I would love for this to be, my career, I'm well aware that I'm not in any kind of position right now to make it be. I'm definitely not consistent enough where like I can do that. So I get it. Like I absolutely could have been one of those people that stopped 5 years in, but I've kept trying in like various ways over the course of 10 years. But like I respect and commend people that know when to stop, when either the passion isn't there anymore and or the results for the work aren't there anymore. Because you can't keep forcing yourself into a dead end if it's not giving you what you want. So I get it.
Yeah, I think the other thing is, like, I would say change. I think there's a lot of people who've done, like, the same thing on this platform for years, and when they start declining, they're, like, really high up there. It's like, I should keep posting the same thing, 'cause that's what my audience wants, when there's a chance that part of that audience has probably drifted away watching other stuff. Like, I think that's something that people don't consider sometimes. But that's also risky, though, to be fair. Like, I want to warn people now, like, if you try to shift something from, like, your main content, especially if you're in, like, the mid-size and whatever, you'll probably start alienating some of the audience who originally subscribed to you for the first thing you did, and you kind of make them like angry or like indifferent to you, and you have to be careful about that. Like it's important.
You have to find the right balance.
Yeah,
you can experiment. Like it's completely fine to experiment, but like you have to know your limits with it. Like, that's like, again, at least speaking for myself, like with the Shonen Jump reviews, I gave myself 3 episodes, and I was just like, okay, based on whatever kind of views, hours, things like that, if it's not growing, I need to stop, because it's not worth the time. It's not providing that big enough boom. Like even with like the 365-day challenge, I love what I'm doing. I love the manga that I'm reading and whatnot, but I also recognize that it is taking away from my other content creation that I'm doing. So like I need to find a balance myself. Like I'm getting the views. My subscriber count is still continuing to go up, but there hasn't necessarily been like a growth in views or things like that. So it's okay to experiment. It's okay to try and follow trends, but you also have to recognize, to your point, that like you have a core audience.
Oh yeah.
There's a core audience that is there for a specific part of what you do. And to be blunt, because I recognize this for myself, not everyone is there for you specifically. Like they might be there for a specific aspect of your content. And if you change things too drastically, you will lose people that were there for that core part. So there's risk and reward to that, though. Obviously, you can completely blow up under the right circumstances, but not everybody gets that golden ticket. And even when some people do get that golden ticket, that doesn't mean that they can then keep it afterwards. Some things really are just a bolt of lightning that happens once, and people aren't able to capitalize on it.
Well, I think the other thing is trying to do stuff like when you're not passionate about it, because audience can tell. Like, that's one thing.
Yep.
And it's like, even if you're passionate, like, let's say you want to switch from like a gaming channel to like the anime channel, unless there's people there for you specifically, it's not gonna work. Is the problem. I think people don't realize. But on the flip side of things, if that's how it works, like someone in my position who recently became the new owner for an Anime channel, because I was the video editor and still keep in contact with him, like I thought, like for a while personally, to get like a 1 out of 10 video, it was going to take a couple of years. It only took a couple of months. So I was like really shocked the fact that there was enough people wanting to watch. And while it's not comparable to the stuff we had in the past, I think that shows that there's people who do care is the thing. And it wasn't necessarily the person is the unfortunate thing. Is how I feel about it. Like, yes, like I still talk to Sage. She looks over stuff before I release it, but that's kind of it. Like, as far as creative involvement goes, unless he really wants to be involved one time, which who knows? Like, that's just how stuff goes. But to kind of get with that, with collaboration being a big part with what you do occasionally, and for different people in the anime YouTube space, like somewhere myself, I do collabs for sure. Like, how do you choose who to collaborate with, and what makes a good like co-host or like guest, like when you're doing a podcast, for example?
Sure. So I mostly collaborate with mutuals just because it's easier to converse with people that I'm familiar with. There are obviously bigger people in the space that I would love to work with one day, but I also don't want to do that until I'm more consistent with my own work, because I do recognize that, especially with people that are the bigger channels and whatnot, their time is valuable. Like the time and effort that they put into their things is important, but also their time off. Like, they've built a career for themselves, they've earned like the time off that they have, and so like that's really valuable that I don't necessarily want to take away from. That's not to say that I want to necessarily like take away the time from my friends and whatnot as well, but it's easier to approach just because we're all in a similar boat. Like, we're all smaller creators for the most part, and getting to collaborate allows us to share audiences and whatnot. And I'm thankful to like you and everyone else that has been part of a collaboration on my channel, or has allowed me to be on their channel for various things. As for like what makes for a good guest, what makes for a good co-host is someone that can roll with the punches. Being knowledgeable is good. Like, I'm obviously very knowledgeable on a lot of topics myself, so it helps if somebody is knowledgeable as well. But it's more valuable to me if a person is able to just add to the conversation in general. Then you have to have fun with it. There has to be a passion there. There has to be enjoyment in discussing things. Like, I mean, even if you like hate something, as long as you are having fun with it and making it enjoyable for people to react to your just absolute disdain for something, that's important. So really, it's just, again, having somebody that can work off of you. Like, if it's just awkward, if things are just pause after pause, if people are just not letting each other speak, those are things where those are definitely red flags. And I can at least thankfully say that I haven't worked with anybody that has been problematic in that regard. But yeah, it's all about just being an agreeable person and being able to bounce off of each other.
Yeah, so I wanted to transition a bit with different questions, since we've been talking a bit about YouTube and such, and more talk about like the manga and anime industry and a little bit of like speculation and such. So I did want to ask, this is more like your opinion with anime storytelling or like productions. Like, what are you most excited about, and do you think there's certain aspects that are like overhyped or like under discussed right now?
So at least in the anime side of things, I really like that we've gotten to a place where we can be experimental with animation. One Piece, I think, is a perfect example of that. So like, despite being the longest, well, not necessarily the longest, like, despite being the anime adaptation of the biggest manga in history, so I was gonna say like a Case Closed and whatnot is out there, and like other things, but I mean, One Piece, obviously the biggest manga in history.
You technically have like Lupin the Third, even though technically nothing's continuity based at this point. It's just whatever in some extent. Doesn't
Right.
even base stuff off the manga sometimes.
Which even Lupin though like has been experimental too, because they had like a CGI anime
That's
that was
true.
like gorgeous. Like
Oh yeah.
I dare people to say otherwise, because I know people hate CGI, but like that was so good. But One Piece in particular, so let's be honest, it had a very stale anime for like a long time. Like pacing issues aside, like the stuff with like Dressrosa, Whole Cake Island, like it was fine, but it wasn't really doing anything more than what it could. But when we shifted over to Wano, when all of a sudden the entire anime direction changed, it was so good. Everything has been like way more interesting, vibrant, moving. Like there's like soul to it now. Like I really like that. I'm enjoying getting to see that from other anime studios and whatnot. Like Science Saru came out of frickin' nowhere and has just been crushing the game. Like they had, it's not even necessarily the same style anime either. They did the Scott Pilgrim anime, which was really good. I loved the Scott Pilgrim anime. I watched that dubbed and it was fantastic. And they had Don Don. They have Sanda coming out later this year. For those unfamiliar, it's another Paru Itagaki series. She was the one that did Beastars, and Sanda is one where there's the main character is literally Santa Claus. I'm not going to get into like specifics with that, but like the previews have been fantastic. They're also doing Ghost in the Shell, and we had preview for that even of like the style and whatnot. I'm enjoying getting to see these studios do more, experiment more, do things like heck, even Studio Pierrot with Bleach, with Thousand Year Blood War, like it's night and day compared to what we used to have. Like I love that aspect of it. I love that production is doing more, although I absolutely hate people out there that are complaining that like One Piece and other anime are over animated, and I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like after the just years and years of just like the bare minimum, we're getting stuff that's super cool and you're calling it over animated? Get out of here. Like no. Just I want more of this. People don't understand, like, and this isn't, when I say this isn't like the animator's fault. There are a lot of really bare bones anime adaptations of a lot of things. The beginning after the end is one of those ones that's getting a lot of, flack for it now. Record of Ragnarok is famous for literally having PowerPoint slide animation. And again, not the fault of the animators. It's not. Don't blame them. Like it's part of the production when whatnot. So like when people complain about over animation, I'm like, you don't get how good you're getting it. Shifting gears though. On the story trend side of things, I don't really have anything to add there necessarily in terms of things that like I'm excited about. I enjoy when new things happen. I enjoy when, the same plot or thematic elements or whatnot are used, but it's executed in a really good way. So I'm not necessarily one where like there's a specific trend that I like, but I am more annoyed than anything when a trend gets overdone. And it's particularly bad in the light novel space. I made a video back in 2021 where I covered that like the two most common trends that we were seeing the most of. We were seeing a lot of like the isekai where it was like trapped in an otome game because of like the popularity of like My Next Life as a Villainess and other series like it. And then you also had like the light novel side of things where it's just like the weak character is actually super strong archetype. And I liken that to slime from that time I was reincarnated as a slime. But there's a lot of series that just take after that and they keep going and going and going and going. The secretly overpowered character that specifically gets kicked out of an adventuring party, you have like however many of those in any given season. I still watch it because I or read it because I watch and read a lot of that stuff, but it does annoy me when I watch something or whatnot and it's just like, okay, it's the same thing that's being done and the execution is just blah. Like if you're gonna do the same thing, at least make it interesting. And it is really annoying when like the same thing just gets done into the ground. And absolutely could bring up Exorcists, because everybody complains when Shonen Jump puts in like a new Exorcist series or whatnot. Those aren't going away. Let's just be honest. But like, I get where the annoyance comes from with that. At that point, it really is just executions. I don't necessarily care about trends like that, but like the light novel space, especially in its adaptations, that is where I get annoyed.
I think the Otome game side, I feel like there's still room for different things to happen for it, but I do think X character being overpowered and they thought they were weakest, I feel like that trope's kind of down the ground at this point. I like, if there's like new stuff going, it's like, sure, I guess someone wants to do that.
What power can we still give, or what weapon can we give that hasn't already been done by literally everybody else?
Yeah, that's just how it feels like at the moment, to be honest. Like, I think what was interesting with like My Next Life as a Villainess, like when it was introduced, like the idea, oh, that she can possibly die, and yet that angle's kind of here and there because it's more like a comedy. I think if someone tried to do like a supernatural or try to do like more horror aspects, like, oh, it's a lot higher or something of risk, that could be interesting, maybe. Like, I could see that like be engaging. There's things I see with that genre that I know some people don't like as much. I think there's still room for it to go somewhere. Is how I feel about it.
I mean, again, at least for me, execution is the most important thing. I don't care if you have the same story as everybody else, if you're able to do it well. And some of them do, some of them don't. It is what it is. I mean, that is where certain series are able to succeed because they do set themselves apart.
Yeah, that is true. When they do that, that's important, at least to get people in. But I was curious about your thoughts with like more Western studios entering anime production, like Powerhouse Productions. Do you see this as a creative enrichment that's starting to come up, like a renaissance, or you think it's more like diluting the medium?
Sure. So I'm of the mindset, at least, that competition allows for advancement and new ideas. So I'm personally happy to see more people in studios getting in on the game. It's been really refreshing even to see, various Twitter users saying how like they've been involved in One Piece's anime production or other ones. It's great getting to see more people from the West getting involved in it. And, while others may see it as diluting the medium, anime has always been a collaborative space. I honestly don't care as long as what we get are good products out of it. But like, if you complain about the West, you ignore how Japan and the West have influenced each other over the years. I mean, like Osamu Tezuka, for example, is very influential, obviously in Japan with anime, but also with cartoons in the West. You see a lot of inspiration from his style. Like, there's give and take with it. There have been a lot of cartoons in the West that have used anime studios to work on cartoons. Like, I don't care necessarily where it comes from, as long as it's entertaining. So if more studios and whatnot, come out of this, and as long as they put out a good product, I'm all for it. Great. Especially too, if they pay and give quality, benefits and whatnot to their animators. Because, I mean, let's be honest, there's a lot of Japanese studios where their practices are very outdated. And that's especially like the studio that did Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man.
Would that be Mappa?
Mappa. I think it's Mappa. Like, everyone was praising Mappa up and down, but then like it came out that they were just working their people to the bone, and it was just like, I'm all for the quality, but like if you're forcing them to do this, like, no. So like if other studios are coming along and they're giving people a good work environment and they're putting out a good product, I'm all for it. It's good for me.
I think that is important to consider, the fact that, especially a working environment, I think it's definitely an undertalked element for sure. I was curious a little bit about opinions like with physical media and such. So do you think like physical media, like Blu-ray, collector's editions, or like manga volumes still play a significant role within the anime fandom, especially with the age of like live streaming, like online reading with like Shonen Jump app, etc.?
Sure. So I think we're kind of in a weird space with collecting right now. On the anime side of things, I'm just going to call a spade a spade. It's pretty much over outside of collector's editions. I think it's a little bit different in Japan to an extent, but like people are just so used to streaming that it just doesn't make sense to buy Blu-rays anymore unless you really want to physically own like an anime, a movie, a show, etc. But again, more often than not, like I see it as people buying like collector editions where it's just like, okay, here's the whole series. Like here it is in like in like a special box or presentation, or like here's the extra bonuses that you get with it. But like I don't really think, especially in the West, that you have a whole lot of people that are like, oh man, here is the anime Blu-ray where it's just 3 episodes of the season and I have to go and buy out like another 3. And like at least in Japan, I remember like a lot of people were buzzing about it, how like Chainsaw Man's Blu-ray sales were like so low. But then you had it where like another anime Blu-ray, I think it was selling like tens of thousands of copies, but like there was a specific promotion that was going on with it. So on the Blu-ray side of things, it doesn't really matter as much anymore. Like the streaming sites, the distributors, like they just want to see what the numbers are. They want to see how people are viewing things. So view counts on like Crunchyroll, Netflix, etc., those are more important than Blu-ray sales at this point in time. I would not be surprised if more stuff just kind of gets phased out over time with that. On the manga side of things, that is different. So especially with like rare out of print and or low print run series, there is value in having books. Like people, like there was such a craze during the COVID phase of things where like people were buying things en masse. That being said, like even with manga, there is a shift to the digital. Like there are a lot of people that are buying digital manga now instead of physical manga, especially in Japan. And just thinking about it, like not everybody has space to be collecting book after book after book after book. So having a digital library allows you to still support the creators that you like while still getting the volume extras and things like that. So whether you buy it physically or whether you buy it digitally, it is important to support the official release, just because it allows publishers to feel like, to know that we are supporting them, to know that we are supporting the choices that they make of the books that they bring in. If we don't buy official releases in some capacity of manga, if we're not, subscribing to the ones that have subscription services, they're not going to bring over as many interesting books. They're just going to bring over more of like the safe picks. Like, oh, here's the Shonen Jump series. Like, okay, fine. Like, so at least in some regard, we have to keep supporting officials or we're not going to get anything. If you're only reading things, if you're only pirating, you're not providing anything to the official release. And that's how things either get canceled or we get lower print runs and less people are able to read because of it. And that's especially the case again for the things that are, less popular, where they need as many people as they can get.
Yeah, I think that's what's concerned me with the dubbing industry in particular, because that's more what I follow. And while I am hopeful now because Crunchyroll released their numbers, like, hey, more people are actually watching stuff dubbed, which is good for my perspective. But at the same time, if you're not having good physical releases, it affects things for me as far as like media preservation goes, because I'm someone who does buy like Blu-rays, like Discotek. That's one of my personal favorite distributors, actually.
Which I think that's different though, because I consider like the Discotek side of things, I consider them more of like the collector's edition, in that like they are hand picking certain things and giving you like the full collection when they print it. It's different compared to like, okay, here's the seasonal anime and you have to buy 2, 3, 4 discs in order to own all of it.
No, I get that angle you're coming from. I think moving towards the angle where you're putting complete shows, I think that's where it should be starting towards, or at least like a complete season at minimum. Like you can't just do what they did in the past, playing like 3 episodes like on a Dragon Ball, like VHS. Like we're of that era at this point. Like you could probably do like a movie or a couple at this point, but it has to be substantial, at least what you're buying, I feel like. And the other thing with Discotek in particular is not only that they're acquiring licenses, but they're also doing like restoration, like finding obscure stuff that no one has like heard of. Like, oh, there's like the UK dub with, it's like Cobra Commando, or forget the name of the character to be exactly
I think the series is just called Cobra. I think if it's specifically
I think it's
the
Space
anime
Commander
from Shonen
Cobra.
Jump. Gotcha.
I think that sounds right. But they found like this UK dub that had like this synth band that did the music for it. It's like they got the permissions to put that back in, so it's something you just never expect in all honesty, like how releases were done, especially if older stuff. Like, but with that said, there's a bunch of stuff that isn't dubbed because of that reason. It's older and Crunchyroll has no priority to like bother with a bunch of licenses that they have. And that's what's concerning me as far as when they did the merger with like Funimation, for example. It's like when you're starting to condense like dubbing companies down, it creates a lot of like a mess of things. Like, but that's where I want to go for right now, at least. But like similar on subject here with a lot of like OVA content, not dubbed physical or media release like how Japan does them. Do you think the dubbing industry is making a fumble where they could potentially get more sales if they just threw an OVA like locked behind a Blu-ray release?
So I guess in my opinion, it's less of a fumble on the dubbing side and more so on the distribution side, because we don't really get dubs without getting, you know, the sub release. So yeah. As for more sales, like I said, you would be more familiar at least with the Western Blu-ray sale side of things, but I at least can't imagine that the OVAs are going to provide that much of an increase, at least for the modern stuff. Like if it's more of a discotheque thing, sure, because again, I'm classifying that more as a collector's edition, but I don't think that's going to have as much of an impact on like the stuff now if it's not for an already popular series. I could be wrong, but like that's just how I feel on it.
I think it's more like complete collection stuff. I think the other thing that I have is like when I'm someone who likes to watch like dub media, for example, and like One Punch Man, there's an OVA that's not dubbed at all. It's like people would probably watch that if you throw it up there before next season drops and be like, "Oh, One Punch Man's coming back?" Yeah.
It depends on what the studio is though, because if it's Madhouse, sure, but if it was the same studio that was doing season 2, like
I'm pretty sure that one was Madhouse before they switched studios, like that OVA in particular, because the other ones, that the JC Staff ones, those were dubbed, which was kind of funny to think of. Like that's what you get, I guess, when you do exclusive stuff. So it's probably just a licensing thing that I'm not considering, because when I talk to people who like work at discotheque, that's usually what it comes down to. It's like, oh, it's just a licensing thing. Like, yeah, we have like X for full series. It's like we need another license to do like an OVA if it exists. It's like I kind of get that. It's just how bureaucracy stuff happens. But I did want to ask on the question of like AI generated dubs are now starting to become a controversial topic in their own right. And there's an official one for this Chinese anime called Supercube, and I wanted to ask your take on this potential rise that might start. And like with the case of like Supercube, like with the AI performances being flat and such, do you think there's a risk that could come from this potentially?
So no. The dub is absolute garbage. And honestly,
I'll say that to anyone who wants to look at for it's not worth your time. Like that's why just bringing it up.
So and honestly, I think that the results will speak for themselves when people just stop watching. I'm pretty vocal against AI myself, and this project from Supercube just proves why it's bad. It's absolutely soulless. Like there's no substance to it. Like it's different when you're just like reading something that might be AI translated. It's still not good. I still don't support that. But like when it's an actual voice that you're listening to, no. It's bad. Like I legitimately hope that like the views on that for them just crash and burn. Now that being said, I don't know necessarily if views are counted the same with what audio selection that you use. So that is a catch. Like I'm thinking, since you mentioned earlier that Crunchyroll had the numbers for like the dubs and whatnot, that they're able to tell.
Yeah.
But if it's a service where it doesn't necessarily differentiate between subs and dubs, and people watch the subs and the numbers are still up, then like that's bad. But like if they are able to differentiate, I think the numbers will speak for themselves. And like it's just hot garbage.
I think it's hard for me to tell because even with the clip I saw like on Twitter, I don't know if it's like YouTube's automated dubbing system because that was rolled out, or if it's something in-house that they use, because I genuinely couldn't tell what AI this company using, or let's say someone was like trolling, like that's possible. That happens on Twitter. Someone just grabs something. It's like, oh, look at this thing, and it's like an anime has great animation and stuff. They're just trying to downplay it. But from what it looked like, from what they linked, it looked like an official channel. So it's like there is some concern. But like you said, I think as long as where we're currently at, I could see a lot of like extra content being thrown out there. But I think as long as people watch what they actually care about, it shouldn't be that longer.
Right.
But a little bit of Crunchyroll, go back on that. How do you feel with Crunchyroll's mixed messaging with their plans to use AI for their company?
So I think, again, just kind of speaking to it, if they decide to lean into it, like, it's not going to go well for them. It's not. People will go elsewhere, and or they will look to other people to give them what they want. AI does not have a place in anime. Like, I don't know. I feel like they may dabble with using AI for subs, and
They did.
Okay, they did.
That. Were you not aware of that?
I had a feeling that's what it was, but like I just feel like it's another one of those things where like people will click away if it doesn't read well. But like it just feels stilted when they do that.
Yeah.
Like it's
I think the criticisms I saw is like how inaccurate it was. People are just finding it funny because they're just posting like clips with how like poorly done it was. More of what was back when they're happening. I don't see as often now, so I assume it's either the AI got better or they quit doing that. I'm hoping it's the latter, that they just quit.
Hopefully,
Right.
But I mean, I know that they put out a lot of anime every season, so I mean, it's not easy. I get that, but like, hate it.
Do you think, considering Twitter and everything, like, do you think anime criticism online's become more nuanced?
No.
No. Okay.
I'll let you finish.
No, that's fine. If you want to interject, I was just curious. Like, are we just stuck in a cycle of like hype and backlash at this point, as far as anime goes?
Yeah, I absolutely. It's just one of those things where it's just hype and backlash. It's way easier for those kinds of takes to just go crazy online than long nuanced takes. Like you can absolutely have like I mentioned before, like you post something where it's just like Sanji sucks, and like 100,000 people are like, yeah, I agree, and it's just like, okay, and then you have somebody that like gives like a detailed like take or like analysis of like a chapter, of episode, whatever, and it just goes widely ignored. Like I will say that too, it's not just like new people in the space that are doing that. It's not like there are people that have been around forever where like, again, it leans into like is this rage bait that this is going to get me clicks and views? Like there are absolutely people that take advantage of that.
Oh yeah, I know people who do that for sure.
We both know people that do that for sure. I'm not naming names, but like there are people where it's just easier to hate or be caught up in the moment and hype it up or whatever than it is to actually give detailed thoughts.
I think my thing is that Twitter's gotten worse because people can be paid to do that now. So it makes me lose incentives. Like people I used to talk to, it's like, okay, I guess that's what you're doing. And sometimes they're like, no, I'm just doing it for the money, man. This is totally
blue checks.
Like, that's the thing.
I make the joke a lot with one of my group chats where it's just like, oh, this blue check is talking about how Tokyo Ghoul is the greatest thing that ever happened again, or like the same like Monogatari series clip is going around, or like, oh, Jump will never be like this specific moment in 2012, and it's just like, oh, okay, rents due. Because they're posting like the engagement post. It's like, like people love this. And it's like it's also like just super easy to just click the like button on things. So like stuff just like blows up just because it's like, oh yeah, fine, cool, I enjoy this, and I hate it. I hate the space that we're in just because again it disincentivizes having nuanced takes on things. And it's not to say that there aren't people that are able to post like that, because there are, but it's typically the people that have already been known for that in the space.
That's like you said, I think it's mostly algorithms not wanting to promote it, and that's just how it works. I'm sure there's some point where you could do a mix of both. That's basically where I think how YouTube has evolved in particular. Like you have your thumbnail, you have a engaging title, and a video can actually be something different from what you're expecting. That's not always a bad thing, especially. I just think that's just
Right.
how the game has properly evolved versus like Twitter or elsewhere. Like even like LinkedIn, funny enough, it's always about B2B sales. It's just someone talking about their life. It's like, if you click my link, you can learn, be like me, Mr. Beast, or something like that. Just how it is. Because I've been going like in a transitional space where I'm on LinkedIn more often occasionally, and that's just how it is. Like learning different cultures. I will say that some aspects feel a lot more professional as far as like how artists talk or how people talk about different aspects, because it's more viewed as like their job, so you get a different perspective on things. But it's difficult. It's like the platform wasn't designed for conversation, so it's like, okay, there's not much I can do with this really. Is how I
And
feel
especially
about
when
it.
you have a character limit. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
that's another thing.
Oh, with LinkedIn, that's not a problem. You have so many you could write articles if you wanted to on there. Like, so much on it. But I did want to ask, with how studios have been recently using anime like as a marketing tool, like for mobile games or other products like Yu-Gi-Oh's like Dual Chronicle series, how do you think that works in comparison, like focusing on more like strong narrative content?
I guess I don't necessarily have too much of an opinion
That's
on
fair.
this with like the marketing side of things. I guess like people enjoy their mobile games, people enjoy their gacha games and whatnot. If that's a means of getting storytelling out to people, cool. If it gets them, a bigger bottom dollar, fine. Like if you want to use anime to promote things, cool. Although I guess you mentioning Yu-Gi-Oh! Dual Chronicles, I think that's cool, at least just because, not on the marketing or whatnot side of things, but it's giving a more in-depth look at some of the cards and their lore in the game. Just because,
Yeah.
like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has had a lot of really cool lore that has just never been explored in the anime itself. So I think that's a really cool anime avenue for them to explore, especially as somebody that, like, I've watched various YouTube videos of people explaining, like, oh, this is the story of marauding captain in Gaga Gigo, or
Yeah.
here's the story of the stupid goblin king that keeps stealing like the pots of greed and whatnot. Or like, I think that's really cool that they're finally giving a spotlight to that stuff. And it's interesting that this is like the first Yu-Gi-Oh series that we've had where it's not, a traditional Yu-Gi-Oh series. It's specifically featuring the cards and whatnot. So that's cool. I can speak to that. I can't speak to the marketing.
I think my thing as well, the reception, at least on the actual Yu-Gi-Oh fan side of things, was somewhat negative. I think that if you want an avenue that's not like where the current anime is, I think this would be a good like in between for people. Cause it could be at a point where it's not overly graphic, where like teenagers, kids could watch these theoretically. But if you want something for people nostalgic about the cards themselves, they have something that they could watch at this point, in my opinion. So
Right.
I could see it go somewhere, but I do understand people's criticisms with like looping animation stuff feeling a bit cheaper on that side of things, because people were thinking it's going to be a big like event, and I feel that, but that's just how things go, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But to get off with a few like closing off questions here, where do you see your like channel heading like next few years?
So ideally, I'll still be doing more of the same, but I'd like to do some more focused videos with better editing. So while I'll still be doing a lot of reading and watching, I had mentioned earlier in the interview, I'm not doing another 365-day challenge where I'm making a short every day for it. It's been fun for what it is, and I'm grateful for all the manga that I'm reading, but posting a video every day can be taxing. Like I mentioned, yes, like I can edit a video in like 30 to 45 minutes, but I still have to read a manga to get there. And like I am actually completing manga series. Like I'm not just like reading a couple pages or chapters and be like, oh, this is an interesting one that you check out. Like, no, I am physically reading all of these manga. Like I will still continue to read and watch a bunch of stuff. Like I have every intention of just continuing to engage in the medium, but I fully intend on exploring different avenues for that. So ultimately we'll see how the channel like evolves from here on out. There's stuff that I want to experiment with, like formats that I've tried in the past and whatnot, like new ideas. we'll see what I do. Eventually, I will get an editor and I will pay for one, but I'm not in a space that I can do that yet because I'm not big enough. So I have to do more growing on my own before I can truly branch out and do new things. And I will say, and this isn't a promise, but I may explore content other than anime and manga as well. But I don't want to promise anything and be unable to deliver on it. I will say that if I do that, it won't be on the Axleablaze Productions channel, just because, again, tying back into another conversation that we had earlier, like,
Yeah.
I want to experiment, but I want to make sure that I'm not losing my core audience and exploring and doing something different. So if I do explore things outside of anime and manga, I will do it in a separate YouTube channel, but Axleablaze Productions is first and foremost my main priority. But I'll still be doing a lot of the same. I'll still be talking about anime and manga content. Like, that is the goal. I will be continuing to do it in some shape or form.
Are there any like dream collaborations or projects you hope to take on here in the future?
So at least in terms of dream collaborations, that would be something like doing a video with Super Eye Patch Wolf or like Mother's Basement, because those two have been two of the most influential in terms of me creating my own channel. I've also been obviously incredibly thankful to work with Roger's Base, not once but twice before, with the manga of the year tournaments, the last two that were done. But I would love to have him on and cover something on the channel with me. I'd also, just in general, I'd love to meet and work with a lot more of the manga and anime content creators in the space, because there's a lot of people that I look up to. But again, another thing that I mentioned before, I want to be more consistent with what I'm doing first before I really try and branch out to other people and make them take up their time to work with me. As for dream projects, I don't necessarily have anything in particular yet. There hasn't necessarily been that like golden goose per se that I want to pursue, but I'll work on it. Like, as long as I'm still, reading manga, watching anime, that's fine with me. I guess if anything, my own working project, and this is just continuing to be a thing, is working on my own manga library, because I do have a large collection of manga and other books. It's not necessarily as big as other people in the space. Like, I will never be somebody like the omnibus collector or the people that have like 20,000 manga. I'm more than content. I have I want to say I've gotten up to 1,300 volumes at this point.
Oh, wow.
And I'm continuing to build upon it, but that's at least a working project. I don't necessarily have anything dream-wise outside of that. I guess if anything, I'd love to do more of a collaborative effort in terms of discussing anime and manga in some kind of multi-content creator platform, but I don't want to promise anything or do anything again, because I haven't delivered in the past on this. Just because, again, YouTube is not a career for me at this time. It is a hobby that I love, but it's not something that I can just drop everything and do YouTube full time. I'm not in a position to do that. So there's stuff that I want to do. There's stuff that I will attempt to do, but there's nothing that's set in stone. But I'm all for the journey and having people come along the journey with me to do so.
I think one end goal thing I eventually want to do is I do want to visit Japan, but I'm not sure if I want to film anything. Not is the thing. I think partially there's just so much stuff to learn out there, That's partly it, to be honest.
I fully intend on going to Japan as well. That was something that I had wanted to do at the end of this year. It's not happening this year, but in the next few years, I absolutely intend on going myself. I will see what I do. It's not something that I would be recording the entire time. I know that, but there are certain things that I absolutely would be like with Sea Dog Connor. I really love his crane game videos, and I love doing crane games myself in the States. So I absolutely would do a video where I go over and I try and win as much as I can in the crane games. But I don't want to necessarily be somebody. I don't want to be on my phone or camera so much that I'm not enjoying the things around me in the process.
I think the other thing is, for me, is logistics. I would have to figure out a filming setup thing. So most likely I'd probably have to like go with someone else theoretically as well. So that's where other stuff gets complicated, because I'm not someone who'd want to film myself like a vlog. So like, I did want to ask, if you weren't making anime content, what would you be doing instead?
Probably gaming. Another unknown fact about me is that I did a little bit of gaming content with another friend between when I did the dork list and when I did my solo work back in 2019. Am I going to tell you what that channel is? No. It's fine being in the past kind of thing, but I do enjoy playing games. I enjoy various Nintendo games and especially JRPGs, so I think that's what I would be doing now if I wasn't doing this. Am I that good at video games? No. I'm one of those people where, like, if I play Fire Emblem and my character dies, I restart the game, and it happens a lot, so I think I'd be entertaining to watch, more so as just a personality playing the game and, like, doing voices for, like, the different characters and whatnot, but, like, you would not be watching me for my skill at the game, because that would not be it. I mean, other than like Pokemon, like I'm decent, at least in terms of like competitive style Pokemon. I haven't been as engaged in the competitive scene since X and Y, just because I lost access to a lot of my Pokemon from years and years of collecting up to that point. But I think I'd be gaming. Not to say that I wouldn't be doing like other content on like books or shows or whatnot, but gaming would be what I would be doing on YouTube if I wasn't making manga and anime content.
And wow, look at the time. I think we're gonna have to end it here. And yeah, I just wanted to thank you again for coming on Axleablaze. Looking at my watch, it looks like it's been over 2 weeks here. Whoa, that's crazy. Almost a month, honestly. Getting back to re-recording the outro due to some technical difficulties that happened on my end, which I am sorry that we had to redo this, so I want to apologize. And to the audience and you as well, the fact that this took so long, and also so many reschedulings from my end, trying to just get this thing done and just get this record out and keep it short. It got kind of a little like scuffed like around, and it's like dog's going crazy, like something was happening, and I tried to salvage what I could for the end part. So the other thing is, like, this podcast had like a lot of other scuffed things. Like, originally this was gonna be a video, but the audio was out of sync with it, so I decided to just manually edit this thing. And I will say this took a long time, put a lot of heart into getting this out and getting this done. So there's other stuff that also happened in between. So Axel, is there anything you want to say as we're closing off this podcast? Anything you want to bring up and end off with?
Yeah, so if you want to see our first collab together, I encourage you to go to my channel and watch the State of Anime Dubs video we did. A few things have changed over the years, but the heart of it is still the same. As for the current state of my channel, some copyright disputes put a stop to my finished manga shorts, but I am still reading for my 365-day challenge. I even got a library card after our original recording to rent some manga. Right now, I am figuring out the current direction I want to take the channel while dealing with some changes in real life, but new videos will return. Until then, I'm gonna keep enjoying manga and anime like I always have. In the meantime, thank you again for having me on for this interview.